So this morning it is the great day like Mahasamadhi day. So this day we are going to discuss the one of the most important topic that is of our discussion in this session of Savitri summarization, that is on Nirvana. So this is the topic of discussion. We are going to have we have a gist on Nirvana and the discovery of all negating absolute. That is really, it has been taken from book 7, canto 6. Nirvana and the discovery of all negating absolute. So this is the great topic of discussion. Before going from for summarization, only 3 or 4 lines we want to quote here. That is the voice, the great voice I am going to try to quote here before you. So that is, I have created all I devour. I am death and the dark, terrible mother of life. I am Kali, black and naked in the world. I am Maya, and the universe is my cheat. I lay waste human happiness with my breath, and slay the will to live, the joy to be. So that is the that all may pass back into nothingness and only avoid the eternal and absolute. So this is just imagine how the voice is working. I will try to quote it a little bit very in a summarized way, because the canto is little bit lengthy. Book 7, canto 6, Nirvana and the discovery of the all negating absolute. So it starts here like this: a calm, slow sun looked down from tranquil heavens. A calm, slow sun looked down from tranquil heavens. So, second step we can root Sulan, rear guard of retreat. The last rains had played, murmuring across the woods. So later we can find, and Savitri's life was glad. It will be a description on the very different autumn. So, and Savitri's life was glad, fulfilled like ours. Savitri's life was glad, fulfilled like ours. She had found herself, she knew her being's aim. Already she is aware of the aim, the objective. Although her kingdom of marvelous change within remained unspoken in her secret breast, all that lived around her felt its magic charm. So we'll not that, because it is already I have quoted. This is a big one. So a light invaded all from her being's light. A light invaded all from her being's light. Her heartbeats dance, communicated bliss, autumn bliss. So great descriptions are there. Happiness grew happier, shared with her by her touch, and grief some solace found when she drew near. She saw not now fate's dark and lethal orb. Already that saturation is there, that tapasya, that sadhana have been accomplished. A golden circle round a mystic sun disclosed to her newborn, predicting light. Again, golden circle we can find. So later we can move. Thus for a while she trod the golden path again. Thus for a while she trod the golden path. This was the sun before abysmal night. So again we can find the next page of discussion here. So empty of thought, a consciousness of being without its joy, empty of thought, incapable of bliss, that felt life blank and nowhere found a soul. So we are here to discuss the great about the voice we have already discussed, and later we can find, O soul, inventor of man's thoughts and hopes, thyself the invention of the moment stream, illusion center or subtle apex point. Then little bit we can go further. Then from the heights a greater voice came down, the word that touches the heart and finds the soul. That the word from the greater voice from heights, the word that touches the heart and finds the soul, the voice of light after the voice of night. So we can go for that voice. O soul, bear not thy kingdom to the foe. O soul, that is already we have seen voice of light. after the voice of night. O soul, bear not thy kingdom to the foe, content to hide thy royalty of bliss, lest time and fate find out its avenues. So later we can find, thou hast come down into a struggling world. Thou hast come down into a struggling world to aid a blind and suffering mortal race, to open to light the eyes that could not see. That is your purpose of your arrival, your taking birth. To open to light the eyes that could not see, to bring down bliss into the heart of grief, to make thy life a bridge twixt earth and heaven. If thou wouldst to save the toiling universe, the vast universal suffering, feel as thine. That is what, for that you have come, and you have to be prepared like this. Thou must bear the sorrow that thou claimst to heal. The daybringer must walk in darkest night. He, then clarification, actually, he who would do save the world must share its pain. If he knows not the grief, how shall he find grief's cure? That is the topic of, that is a great question before us. If he walks, if he knows not grief, how shall he find grief's care? If far he walks above mortality's head, how shall the mortal reach that too high path? Not possible. So he who would save the world must be one with the world. All suffering things contain in his heart's space. So later, rejecting the moment's personality, know thyself older than the birth of time. Just forget about that. I have taken birth on here, 19, just about this Mahasamadhi day, just you can thinking. 1872, that is 15th August, I was born. 1950, on 5th December, it is the passing away day, Mahaprayana. So forget about that. Rejecting the moment's personality, know thyself older than the birth of time. So banish all thought from thee and be God's void. Then shalt thou uncover the unknowable, and the superconscient conscious grow upon on thy tops. Infinity's vision through thy gates shall pierce. Thou shalt look into the eyes of the unknown. Find the hid truth in things seen, null and false. Behind things known, discover mysteries real. Thou shalt be one with the gods of bare reality. Again, towards the end of this first session, it is written in this beautiful, brilliant letters. And it is really excellent, really excellent. So, cast up thy mind, step back from form and name. Cast back from mind, cast up thy mind, step back from form and name, annul thyself that only God in may be. So whatever we have gone so far, let us have a brief study. Then I mean we'll try to get the gist, summarize it. Then we'll go for the further study. So this is the book 7, Canto 6, Nirvana and the discovery of the all negating absolute. It is autumn. Already I have so spoken. It is autumn. Savitri is happy. She knows the aim of her being. Already she is aware of the aim of being. All round her feel the charm of her inner change and receive a heightening impulsion. Even grief finds solace in her proximity. Grief finds solace in her proximity. Savitri no more sees the shadow of fate. Already what shadow has been seen, discussed, or covered so far, it is not there above. Satyavan's head. Above Satyavan's head, the shadow of fate is no more seen by Savitri. He is luminous and shares her joy always. Then one day, as she is still breathing the joy of her lover Satyavan, still breathing the joy of her lover Satyavan, an abyss suddenly yearns beneath her heart. An abyss, suddenly, all at a sudden. There is a drag of fear on her nerves. Already we have seen this is Nirvana, all negating absolute. Drag of fear in the nerves, an inexplicable dread follows in its wake, and profound darkness envelops all. Profound darkness envelops all, seeming to abolish her very existence. Out of that negating emptiness, a voice speaks to her in uttered words. That voice already we have seen, questioning the reality of her soul and of course, warning her against the impossibility of the happiness in this uncertain world. Impossibility of the no, happiness is at no, all to the core. It is visible. So, in this world of pain, the impossibility of making manifest what is the unknowable, it is almost a impossibility of making manifest what is unknowable. She is told that only the blank eternal can be true. Only blank eternal can be true, and all else is a shadow. Her soul, an invention of a passing moment. Her soul, an invention of a passing moment, and the center of illusion. Know thyself and cease from vain existence. That is what the real line is quoted. Know thyself and cease from vain existence. This is the message. Then the voice ebbs, leaving behind it a barren silence. There is no all at a sudden. There is a barren silence. Her kingdom of delight is no more. Only her soul remains alone, awaiting the unknown eternal will. Soul remains alone, awaiting on the it unknown eternal will, and everything is packed with a barren silence. And from the heights above, after the voice of night, there comes down a voice of light. Just now we saw before some time. It is the reply of heaven to the cry of the abyss. Reply of heaven to the cry of abyss, that great word, voice of light after the voice of night. Don't expose thy kingdom of felicity to the enemy. That's what. Don't expose thy kingdom of felicity to the enemy, but adventure further and make the whole world thine. Adventure further and make the whole world thine. Don't fear to be nothing, that thou mayst be all. Thou hast come to find thy luminous kingdom of God's dark. Thou hast come to found thy luminous kingdom of in God's dark. Thou must need, thou must need bear the suffering of the universe if thou wouldst have saved it. Thou must already now you have to come bear the suffering pain to save the world. Banish all thought from thee and be God's void in order to discover the truth of the mystery. Then Savitri, what happens in Savitri? Savitri listens and plunges deep into herself. She becomes a witness and watches the drama of life and mind. Watches the drama of life and mind in her own inner self. She observes the birth of thought. She sees the activities of the various faculties in the subtle center of consciousness. Activities of the various faculties in the subtle center of consciousness. The several lotuses. She feels the totality of the universe, the high meeting the low. That's what, the high meeting the low she can feel. She beholds the mighty power meeting the low. She beholds the mighty power of nature and the role of individual in its instrument. God and nature do all. Only the soul's acceptance man has the one. Already we have seen and we have read. Even if although his ego claims the world for its own use, man is a dynamo in the cosmic work. Whatever the best he feels the highest, he feels the at the top, so far the finest animal. But thing is that he is a dynamo in the cosmic work. Nature does most in him, God the highest. Then what man has to do? Only thing that is the only the soul's acceptance is his own. Only when he breaks through the external walls of matter, only through only when he breaks through the external walls of matter can man realize his spiritual vastness and assume the mystery. That is what the real meaning. Let us quote few lines from the original writings that written in golden letters. So then we'll come to the summarization. So we have seen her large sensations of the teeming walls streamed their dumb movements of the unformed idea. So later we can go. She heard the prompter's voice behind the scenes. She saw the power that stare from the abyss and the wordless light that liberates the soul. Already we have seen the sounds that mortal listening can't hear, the blissful sweetness of the intangible thoughts, the objects that to us are empty, are empty air, are there the stop of daily experience. So we can find later. The past, she felt the movement crushing unknown minds. She saw the life of remote continents and the distances defined not to voices far. She felt the movement crushing the unknown minds. Already we have seen and we have felt. The unknown grew visible and audible. Thoughts leaped down from a superconscient field. So later we can go because this is already we have seen. It is a big one, little bit larger. So our greater truth of being lies behind. Our greater truth of being lies behind. Our consciousness is cosmic and immense. But only when we break through the matter's wall, just now we saw. But only when we break through the matter's walls, and in that supernal vastness can we stand, where we can live the master of our world, and the mind is only a means and the body a tool. So later we can go, we can find her mind now seemed like a vast empty room or like a peaceful landscape without sound. All was suppressed, but nothing was yet exposed. At every moment might explosion come. So later we can go. Minds unvisited, unexpected visitors from the unseen, like far off sails upon a lonely sea. That's what we see. So we can find in the absolute stillness, bare and formidable. We can find here in the absolute stillness, bare and formidable, there was glimpsed the all-negating void supreme. There was glimpsed the all-negating void supreme that claimed its mystic nihils sovereign right. So we can go a little bit further and we know. Vain was the provocation of events, nothing within answered an outward touch. No nerve was tired and no reaction rose, yet still her body saw and moved and spoke. It understood without the aid of thought. It said whatever needed to be said. It did whatever needed to be done. There was no person there behind the act. No mind that chose or passed the fitting word. All wrought like an unerring apt machine, as if containing old habitual terms. So we can find little bit like a pure perception was the only power. A pure perception was the only power. Her consciousness looked on and took no part. So we see the find the that great description. The forest with its emerald multitudes, clothed with its show of huge and vague empty space. A painting's colors hiding a surface void that flickered upon dissolution's edge. Then we find there was no soul within, no power of life. The brain's vibrations that appear like thought, the nerves' brief answer to its contact's not, the heart's quiverings felt as joy and grief and love, wave twitchings of the body, their seeming self. That if the body, that body forged from the atoms and from gas, a manufactured lie of Maya's make. So we can go an endless no to all that seem to be, an endless no to all that seem to be, an endless yes to things ever unconceived, and all that is unimagined and unthought, an eternal zero or untotaled aught. So before and here it is time for you us to have a some gist or whatever till now whatever we have heard. So this is the topic, and we find sometimes that discussion, and we find the will. It is better to have the summary. So let us have a complete summarization to this one. Savitri listens and plunges deep into herself. Listens and plunges deep into herself. She becomes a witness and watches the drama of life and the mind in her own inner self. She observes the birth of thought. She sees the activities of the nervous various faculties of the subtle center consciousness that we have already discussed. Savitri rises above the mind. Now itself she rises above the mind, above the hold of nature, above the mind, second above the hold of nature, and see creation from above. Rises up and see creation from above. All grows calm and tranquil. The body seems to have become a stone. Body stone stillness. Body seems to have become a stone. But the far repose of the absolute is not it. Far repose of the absolute is not it. She still sees stray thoughts crushing her solitude. Stray thoughts crushing her solitude. Even this stops gradually, and all is absolutely still, silent. In this bare stillness, she glimpses a supreme all-negating void. In this bare stillness, she glimpses a supreme all-negating void. Thought, emotion, feeling. Three things. Thought, emotion, feeling, all are as if dead. Her body functions by itself without a person to make it act. Automatically it is working. Only a pure perception remains. It sees immortally the world go by. The world go by. It sees only the abysmal unreality of all. Abysmal unreality of all it sees. All looks like a cosmic film of scenes and images stitched on a silent mind. And then what happens? And yet, and yet she perceives behind all. She perceives behind all, beyond all time and space, perceives behind all and beyond all time and space, a one that is solely real, escaping from all form and hue. One, the one, a one that is solely real, escaping from all form and hue. It is both an endless no to all that seems, an endless yes, endless no to all that seems, endless yes to all that still unconceived. To this stupendous lone reality, even eternity and infinity seem but words. Eternity and infinity seem just words. Consciousness, truth, love, force, bliss, all five. Consciousness, truth, love, force, bliss, they all appear as if sealed before its face. Then we can find that towards the end part of the discussion, a formless liberation came on Savitri. A formless liberation came on her. She escapes into infinity. She shares the superconscious high retreat, escapes into eternity. Formless liberation comes, shares the superconscious high retreat, sees a point in the unknowable, some last annulment still remain. Everything is done, still something is remain. Only a memory of being still keeps her separate from nothingness. Only a memory of being still keeps her separate from nothingness. Then we can go and we'll finally we'll see the last couple of lines and before concluding. A spaceless and a placeless infinity, as eternity and infinity seemed but words, already we have seen discussed, vainly affixed in mind's incompetence to a stupendous lone reality. So then the world is but a spark burst from its light. World is but a spark burst from the light. All moments flashes from its timelessness. All objects glimmerings of the bodiless that disappear from mind when that is seen. Then after some time we can find, if all existence could renounce to be, and being take refuge in non-being's arms, and non-being take refuge in non-being's arms, and non-being could strike out its ciphered round, some luster of that reality might appear. Then we find she had risen up from body, mind, and life. Now the change. She had risen up from body, mind, and life. She was no more a person in a world. She had escaped into infinity, the original source from which she came. What once had been herself had disappeared. There was no frame of things, no figure of soul. So she shared the superconscious high retreat superconscious high-rated shared originality is that beyond the self-born word, the nude idea, the first bare solid ground of consciousness. So, beings were not there, existence had no place. There was no temptation of the joy to be. Then we can find a memory of being still was there and kept her separate from nothingness. Already we have seen. A memory of being still was there that kept her separate from nothingness. She was in that but still became not that. Then she might be not or new become in all. Then a out of the so you can find her state of eclipsing cell and of a darkened sun of its secret way to the ineffable. Even now her splendid being might flame back. That is the change, great change we see. Even if her splendid being might flame back out of the silence and the nullity, a gleaming portion of the all wonderful, a gleaming portion of the all wonderful, a power of some all affirming absolute, a shining mirror of the eternal truth, to show to the one in all its manifest face. To show to the one in all its manifest face, to the souls of men their deep identity, or she might wake into God's quietude beyond the cosmic day and the cosmic night. So, in the end, couple of lines. In infinity, nothingness was the ultimate sign. In infinity, nothingness was the ultimate sign, or else the real was the unknowable. A lonely absolute negated all. A lonely absolute negated all. It effaced the ignorant world from its solitude. It effaced the ignorant world from its solitude and drowned the soul in its everlasting peace. So this is the story of the Nirvana and the all negating absolute we have seen. In the last two lines we'll see. And infinity nothingness appears to be the ultimate. Infinity nothingness appears to be the ultimate. A lonely absolute negating all effaces the ignorant world and drowns her soul in everlasting peace. A lonely absolute negating all effaces the ignorant world and drowns her soul in the everlasting peace. This is the great story we have heard so far, and we have come for discussion in this great, of course. In the process of our summarization session, we see and we feel and we have discussed in these great lines. So the very charming lines we have seen, the very interesting things we have already crossed. She beheld the many birds of thought. We see, she beheld the many birds of thought. If birds can be of what eternal is, for the eternal's power are like himself. Eternal power are like herself, timeless in the timeless, in time ever gone. The great word, the great line we quote upon again and again throughout our discussion. Timeless in the timeless, in time ever born. These two she saw, that all in outer mind. Soul, but in outer mind, is made, not born, a product perishable, forged in the body's factory by earth force. Thus, mind is a dynamic small engine. So, this mind, here in the course, is a dynamic small machine producing ceaselessly till it wears out. So the great she felt the movements of the movements crossing unknown minds. The past events occurred before her eyes. Past events occurred before her eyes. The great world's thought were part of her own thought. The feelings dumb forever and unshared. The idea that never found an utterance. That's what the dim subconscious incoherent hints laid bare a meaning twisted, deep and strange. So we have seen that is the sounds that the mortal listening can't hear, the blissful sweetness of our intangible touch, the objects that us are to us are empty air, are there the stop of daily experience. So these are the golden lines we find. Her mind now seemed like a vast empty room, or like a peaceful landscape without sound. This is the peace. This is the condition of peace. Her mind now seemed like a vast empty room, or like a peaceful landscape without sound. This men call quietude, definition of quietude, and prize at peace. But to her deeper sight, yet all was there, effervescing like a chaos under a lid. So all was suppressed, but nothing yet exposed. At every moment might explosion come. So these are the great lines we find, we see, and of course we can summarize here. This is the topic. This is a great topic, Nirvana and the discovery of the all negating absolute. This is will naturally the point of discussion. It will be definitely overcome, of course, up to non-known before going to the next topic, the discovery of the cosmic spirit, and of course the cosmic consciousness. Vande Matram.